On a damp autumn day, I got a call on my mobile phone, and this call dramatically changed my whole life. 7 years ago, my sister Rebecca left our small town and went to conquer another city. It didn't work out very well. After university, I found a job and was happy about it. I joined the army, and I did it myself so as not to feel inferior. He served in the autorot. According to the contract, he did not stay, but followed his sister, deciding that when someone of his own was around, it would be easier. He graduated from college and became a certified car mechanic. There wasn't a lot of money yet, but it was almost twice as good as my sister's. But that's not the point. Call Lena's number, and the voice is male. I was riding in a taxi and had an accident. The driver is in serious condition, and she has only cuts and bruises. She was strapped in and suffered a head injury from a side impact from her side. He rushed over, and as it turned out, for good reason. The goat with whom she was twirling, having learned about the head injury and amnesia, did not appear. I took all the trouble on myself. I informed my parents and calmed them down. He convinced her that it was not such serious injuries, but her memory, and the doctor said that she would gradually return to it. I loved Lena very much. You can say that you were fixated on her. Once I saw a slender woman with a happy face coming out of the lake after swimming at dawn, and this image of her was imprinted on my memory for the rest of my life. After this family camping trip, I was dumbfounded, looking for any opportunity to peek and admire my older sister. Well, I think that this period is familiar to all men. By the time I was discharged, I had already moved into her rented apartment. I was closer to work and to my sister. During the months that I lived in her apartment, regularly paying for my sister, our things gradually got mixed up. However, I also helped by rummaging everywhere, trying to get information about my sister and how she lived before the accident, so that she could help her return to her usual life as soon as possible. The number of questions was growing when I came across my sister's old, crumbling notebook. Many phone numbers and addresses were crossed out with the same color paste, and sometimes entire pages, apparently when she transferred what she needed to a new notebook. On one of the pages, I saw a name highlighted in red, framed, and phone numbers rewritten several times. Most likely a friend, and I dialed the last of the numbers. Hello, I'm Benjamin, Amanda's brother. She's in the hospital now, had an accident, lost her memory, and I'm in her apartment. Ah, it's clear which Amanda is. It's good that you showed up and called, otherwise I thought that was it. The bastards killed the girl and buried her somewhere in the woods. She's alive. Well, at least, let it be. The main thing is that she is alive. Benjamin, I have the end of the working day in half an hour. I know where Amanda lives. I'll come and talk to you. It is necessary to save. 2 hours later, she was at our apartment. We met and sat down in the kitchen to drink tea. A man from work, hungry. You know, I'll tell you briefly so that you can figure out the situation. Have you called anyone else? Yes. At the hospital, they gave me a notebook from her things for a minute. Arnold is like that there. Oh, you shouldn't. And what did he say? Well, I said that the accident was in the hospital. I lost my memory. I called where to come to help me remember something. He said he would come later. He was busy, and that was it. That's good. That's how it all started. I left the old apartment that Amanda and I rented when I got married, and she couldn't afford the rent alone. I borrowed as much as I could, and then she drew this Arnold. In short, he offered her to sleep with him for money. One night every weekend for $20,000 a month. But she needed the money yesterday, and she couldn't consult with me. I was away in such a remote place where even cell phones don't work, so she agreed. But where can she go? I arrived and called. She said, we had a fight. We didn't talk for a month. This fool agreed to pay $30 a month not only with him, but also with his friend. Can you imagine? Okay, time passes, and she tells me that now she meets with each of them twice a week, on different days, for $50,000. She's happy. The money appeared. She paid me back and disappeared for a while. I came back happy, tanned. I went to the south with some guy. He fed and watered. Arnold started renting it out to tough guys, all for the same $50,000. I think he made a lot of money on her. And Amanda waved her hand. She got used to such a life. Then another one offered to take her away from Arnolda, and she easily agreed, over 80, but only with him. And then it started. The new daddy started paying her $100 a month, But every week he put Amanda under the people he needed. That's how she's been living for the last year and a half. Well, it's clear that this daddy also hoed her twice a week, and his two sons helped, and she worked like a miner, lying on her back, working hard, 7 days a week. So, when I got into an accident, I think that's what I was going to, or his sons. After what I learned, confusion appeared in me, but it soon passed. No, you can't help me remember all this humiliation, Amanda. And I asked him not to call yet and not to show up for half a year. Otherwise, he would remember all the horror and go crazy. He said that now she was in good hands. I would be with her, and what and how, I would call and tell her. Olga understood me. Let him start his life with a clean slate. To be honest, when I saw her off, I sat down at the table, and I felt so offended for the ruined life that I just burst into tears. Extract. I'm picking up her things from the luggage room. We arrived at the apartment. He looks around, not recognizing her, as for the first time. He looks at his own things as if they were someone else's. And suddenly he asks, "There is one sofa here, but where do you sleep?" My heart started pounding. Here it is, a chance to rewrite the whole past. So you and I have been sleeping together for a long time. How is that? In what sense? Well, as husband and wife. Her face is full of confusion and horror. How? You're my brother. And the parents? They don't know. The sister's face flushed, and she looked down. And how long have we, well, got along with you? Almost 3 years ago. She sat down on the sofa and put her hands on her head. My head is splitting. I immediately gave her a pill, one of the ones they gave her for the trip to the hospital. Don't try to remember. Everything will come back to you. Don't torture yourself. If it causes such violent emotions in you, I promise not to touch you with my finger until you allow it. I love you, and you can't make love yet. It's a very violent emotional outburst. The sister gradually calmed down. Let's go get acquainted with the kitchen. Especially for your return, I baked a kalabayaku, as you like, with stewed cabbage and egg. I remember kalabayaku, my mother baked. My sister smiled for the first time. Mom sent me the recipe. Come on, put the kettle on, let's eat. I need to call my mom, tell her that I've been discharged. She's worried. After talking to her parents and eating, Rebecca wanted to wash up after the hospital. I got her a clean nightgown and a bathrobe. She looked at how confidently, knowing where some of her things were. I was collecting, blushed slightly, and her face expressed a clear thought. Is this really true? And we are lovers. A little uncertainly, Rebecca began to undress in front of me and hang clothes on a chair. I'm sorry, I don't remember anything, and I'm still shy in front of you. Okay, you just leave the door open. The doctor said that at any moment you may feel dizzy or ill. I'm not going in. I'm going to sit in the kitchen. If you suddenly scream or call out, I'll come running right away. After a while, I heard my sister turn off the water and pull back the shower curtain, and then gasped, as it happens when people stumble and fall. I felt dizzy. I was about to get out, and suddenly, I picked my sister up in my arms and carried her to the sofa. He sat down, took out a terry towel, and began to gently wipe and dry his hair. You promised you wouldn't lay a finger on me. And that I won't kiss, I didn't promise. The nurse smiled, blinking. Lie down. I'll wipe my feet. She obediently lay down. It's all overgrown in 3 months. It's a little ticklish and pleasant, she laughed merrily. Do you like it? Yes. I really like it. I was taking care of my sister, and I was afraid to snap, not to hold back, and it would hurt her. The doctor warned me that there might be some oddities in my behavior, and therefore issues documents for disability and guardianship. We woke up with our arms around each other. I stretched as much as I could, being wrapped in an embrace. Good morning. Thank you. I turned to her in a joyful half-whisper. I quickly found a pill and brought some water. Soon Rebecca smiled at me and said in a whisper, "It's almost stopped hurting. Just keep your voice down. Otherwise everything hits your head, every sound." The daily routine of going through the torments of paperwork, her and mine, for care began. The days passed quickly. She was gradually getting used to life. Already on the 3rd day, she completely stopped being shy of me and could walk around the apartment for days without experiencing any discomfort. Here, she put a plate of omelette on the table, commands me to try it. delicious. I was also embarrassed that she was open as a child. She had not yet learned to hide her interest and her desires again, and told me everything as it is. She also didn't learn how to cheat yet, remaining open and trusting, which is why I was ashamed that I was using it. Yes, she is pleased, she likes it, but it is not a product of the mind, but at the level of animal instincts, not through love for me. Don't feel sorry for me that my head hurts. I want you to feel good too. No need. So good. Let's just lie down. So we lay there until we both dozed off. Only then did I leave my beloved, and she, half asleep, did not mind it, turning on her side. Daily training in making love has begun. The benefit of visual aids abounds on the internet. After we began to live normally, regularly, as befits a husband and wife, in full, she began to blossom before our eyes. She had a powerful desire to recover, to become a strong, not flawed wife to her husband again. She even started to recall some details from her past, which worried me. However, I knew perfectly well what I was doing, and I understood that ignorance would end someday. I did not dare to interfere with her in this, and frankly answered her questions about the past, if they did not relate to the period spent with those ghouls. Then I silently spread my hands, saying I don't know. In the middle of the summer, my parents arrived. Before their arrival, she suggested not to tell them about our relationship. With a huge squeak, she remembered the faces of Mom and Dad, which made them cry. Mom kept admiring how tenderly and carefully I take care of my sister, with whom I constantly fought over every little thing in childhood. My parents brought us all kinds of food, stewed meat from their preparations and other things, and when they left money, which was very important. They said they would come back in the fall, and if the doctor would allow her to fly by plane, they would take her home. They avoided the word disability in every possible way, for fear of offending their daughter. They left. They both felt sad. The only joy is that you can make love again without restrictions. We met with her friends and acquaintances, spending the evenings with their institute memories. My sister began to accumulate a baggage of memories, and she returned more and more to her original appearance, constantly becoming more and more the same, and I was afraid of the day when she would finally become the same. Maybe it was just my fears? We felt a sweet sense of mystery in front of strangers, being called husband and wife. In the fall, Rebecca herself asked her parents to delay her return home. Here she gradually recalls her last 7 years of life, and they agreed that her daughter needed it. I went back to work, and we lived a quiet family life, measured and cozy, in our nest. Closer to the new year, I began to have an obsessive desire to have a child, to become a full-fledged family, but this would fit too well into the term "took advantage of," and I couldn't do that. And one day Rebecca told me herself that she looked at the children of the neighbors growing up, and she felt very sad at heart, hinting at the desire to give birth too. We found all the materials on close relationships and marriages. I reminded him about a neighbor, a boy from my class, about whom it was rumored that his mother had given birth to her own eldest minor son. The guy is like a guy, and in mathematics, he even copied the whole class. And after the new year, we decided on this experiment, chilling with fear. It didn't work out on the first attempt, but the pregnancy came later, in March. Soon, having found out about this through the neighbors, the landlady of the apartment demanded that we immediately move out and give birth wherever we want, fearing for our real estate. How many tears have been shed? We said goodbye like forever. It was kind of crazy, and I began to seriously worry about her psyche. We moved into my former apartment. The conditions are not a fountain, and only for 3 months. We lived and loved, but the old joy, the feeling of celebration of life was no longer there. You lied to me. I remembered everything. We didn't live with you as husband and wife. What for? Kitty, what a pussy for you. Bastard. What should I do with the baby now? It's too late. Don't you feel sorry for him? You wanted to give birth to him. Give birth. What will I tell my parents? Already through tears and lowering the note, the sister replied, Mom will immediately guess whose it is. I'm sorry. Fate has given me a chance to be with you, and for me this is the main thing, and you have a chance to erase all the bad things that happened to you before me. And what should we do? You will give birth. I'll come to meet you from the hospital. You'll stay with your parents for the first time, and I'll send you money. As soon as I find a way to make documents that you are my wife and we are not relatives, I will take you away and we will live. In mid-December, Rebecca gave birth to a daughter. Mom had been muttering to herself all week and was hostile towards me when I arrived. So she sat down at the table. Well, guardian, will you say that you didn't catch up? Mom understood everything. Mother, what are you raging about? The slightly drunken father raised his voice. It's good. At least she gave birth to a granddaughter. It's time to get married and make a grandson, but not just one. Do you have a suitable girlfriend? There is. My mother did not let up. Do not doubt. Children will set up grandchildren for you, and whoever you want. After these words, Rebecca turned completely red in the face. Fortunately, she was doing the dishes in the kitchen, and the father did not see it, sitting with his back to her. Only the mother squinted at her daughter, who shyly lowered her head. Wait, mother, don't get angry. Son, do you have a girlfriend? There is. Do you love her? I love you. Does she like it? He loves me, I replied confidently. Why don't you get married? Circumstances do not allow it. Married? Sort of. Oh, my son, you have to fight for your love. Everyone who prevents you from being together is on your side. I'll get in the way. I'm on my side. I was just dumbfounded. It turns out that my father understood everything or knows everything, but is trying to intercede for us in front of my mother. Mother, you'd better put food on the table. We'd have lunch, you see, and you'd be kinder. Come on, you. You don't want to see what's going on. Mother, cool down. Everything happens in life. I see everything. Let them live as they happen to. Do not interfere with the happiness of the young. In the evening, my mother pointedly asked when we were alone at the table, do you want to make a bed together? No, I have to get up for the baby at night. Well, that's fine. Rebecca lived with her parents for a year after the birth of our daughter. I used to come and see you for a few days. My parents accepted our choice. My mother was already making beds for us together as husband and wife. However, we did not love in the house. We went beyond the gardens. Our parents didn't discuss such nightly walks. They just sighed silently. And then I called my sister that everything was ready, and there was an apartment, you can come. Rebecca dragged on for a month, answering that it was difficult with the child. Nevertheless, I pulled her out for 2 weeks in one of the cities. Even before that, I talked with the right people there, and we returned home already having a stamp in our passport, a marriage certificate, and the birth of our daughter. It is clear that the money was not small, but they began to live without looking back at the past. I found a job in my town. She stopped being shy of her parents, and what's there to do? When my daughter turned 2, Rebecca whispered to me at night that she had thought it over and decided that it was better not to delay and give birth to her father's long-awaited grandson, and we started working on it. Parents, of course, heard everything, no matter how you hide it, but they are silent. We are upset, of course, that our life has turned out this way. However, the news that there will be twins, 2 boys, pleased them, but we'll see how it goes from there. My father was right. You have to fight for your happiness.